Welcome back. On today's Dungeon Design Drive-By, we take a look at a one-shot I like to call the Colosseum. I'm Mark William, and you're watching By DND. In front of you is the Colosseum, a fighting pit. The players duke it out, fight against crazy monsters, and is something that I think is cool to put somewhere in your campaign. There's just something about pitting people one-on-one in a great arena. It reminds me of Gladiator. I love Roman times and all the different things, and it provides this cool opportunity to throw on your players crazy creatures that they've never seen before, right? It's always good. They build up to this final champion and have crazy monsters. So this isn't so much of a one-shot, it's more of a idea where I adapt a few things and did a couple cool things that I think would be awesome for you to just throw in your campaign wherever. So I'm going to talk about how you could maybe use the Colosseum idea or the fighting pit idea before a campaign starts, during a campaign, how you could implement it, and then how I used it in my game, because I did find a way to put it in, and I'll kind of walk you through that. So firstly, if you have the right group of players, start them level 0 or level 1 with minimal stuff as slaves that basically start the campaign in this fighting pit as slaves, and they need to either maybe win their freedom or, prove themselves as heroes. So I think that'd be a very cool way to start a campaign and get everyone together. And you could even do a group thing where maybe, there's 2 heroes and they're going to be faced with various challenges. I got these cool lions because I do want to do more of this type of stuff in my games where this is where the campaign begins. It's like Survive. Maybe they get a choice of weapons. That's when they pick their equipment from a certain rank. So a lot of places you could go. In fact, you could probably do a whole campaign or prologue, even just them rising through the ranks of this gladiatorial situation, which would be cool. However, I'm just looking at this as a starting point for players to kind of make their own ideas afterwards. So, very important, again, during a campaign, if you just want to throw this in there, I think at some point they should come to some sort of tournament situation where, especially if your campaign hasn't had a lot of combat, it's a good opportunity to add that in. Now, what's beautiful about the Colosseum in particular, and why during a campaign it could be cool, is because perhaps the players early on have met some villain or heard about some noble who's really crooked and terrible, and maybe there's room for the players to get close to those individuals. And, if they're working for a bandit group or anything like that, perhaps they're poisoning people in the crowd. So it kind of creates a cool environment to do maybe some political intrigue or get players close to a certain enemy. Or like I said, it's a chance to really surprise the, heroes with some crazy type of monster. And if they win the tournament or enter in the contest, basically, they will get rewards of various type, maybe cool magic items, maybe, certain buffs or respect from wherever this fight is taking place. Alternatively, it could be cool that the nobles, seeing the fighting prowess of your heroes, give them a great challenge. Perhaps the tournament is set up to weed out the best fighters. I guess not weed them, plant the best fighters, and then harvest those best fighters and take them to use them on a certain perfect quest. And that's kind of how I did it in my campaign, as I'm going to explain next. So basically, I had in my campaign the players just see a parchment when they got to the town, and it said there's this tournament. It was the Prince's Tournament for basically an arrogant noble who the players had heard about. And they even heard some rumors and worked with some people who wanted this prince dead, and they received poison for that. So I did set it up more as, are the players going to use this opportunity to get close to the prince, kill him, or what's going to happen with that? So they entered into the tournament, and one thing that I should explain too is some people might not want to do the Colosseum because it's maybe one fight at a time and people are watching. But as I did in my campaign, each player who entered, I just basically separated the two halves so that you can run 2 combats. And they just engaged in the tournament because basically they wanted to win. I think there were some prizes and things like that. So it was another cool chance for me to take a character, which is another cool thing about this, that maybe the players met before. So one of my players really had a rivalry with this arrogant knight back in the past. And so it was a great opportunity to bring that knight back. You know, he had given him a hard time in the last town and basically disrespected him. So they had this one-on-one fight. And in this tournament, it wasn't to the death. You know, it was basically for the prince's, in celebration of his 20th birthday. The whole idea is that the prince has to hold this tournament and would actually compete in the tournament and face the winner. You know, and no one's beaten the prince for like 100 years. So obviously people need to take the dive. But besides that, he fought off with this knight in the past. But of course, this knight brought in a real sword and had somehow bribed the officials who were calling the whole tournament. And basically he wanted to kill the player character. And so it was great because the player who was playing hated this knight. And so it was just this battle to the death. And the crowd was all involved and things like that. And so it is fun for other players to cheer on other players or anything like that. And another cool thing you want to do with the Colosseum that I did is give the players a chance to buy costumes. Like, this tournament was all about look and performance. Again, it wasn't for the all about just killing. Well, it wasn't supposed to be. So they got costumes, let your players describe what costumes they put on, like make a big deal of it, like they have to look good. And I would make them, before every attack, do performance checks. And so basically, if they performed above the DC, they would earn like the crowd's approval. So if they earned 3 of those in a row, I'd give them double damage on that final attack because the crowd was totally into it, and it was about the performance of how he fights and defeats his opponent. So there's some cool mechanic things that you can play around like that can make it really interesting. And it was a fun time to separate the heroes from working together, and they have to use sort of what they were given. So if your players are a bit too overpowered, it's a good time to give them a little bit more stress, especially if the tournament or the fighting pit is to the death. So hopefully I've shed some light on why having this in your campaign could be really cool. But let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas or any other cool things that you think this could be used for, and it'd be great to hear from you. So I'll see you next time.
I'm Mark William, and remember, all D&D, all day long, all night till dawn.